Hi, my name's Caleb,
And I'm Karina.
and at the beginning of this year, 2025, we decided we were going to try to broaden our music taste, our music listening. So we decided every month of this year, we're going to pick a different artist, and we are going to do a deep dive on their discography. And the first month, we chose Danny Elfman's project,
Oingo Boingo.
And would you like to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, so Oingo Boingo was a band that I was like kind of familiar with. I listened to a few songs like Running on a Treadmill, Gray Matter, and like Dead Man's Party.
I heard somebody cry from Dead Man's Party. You played for me in the car.
Yes, I've definitely played a few songs, but like I wasn't super familiar, even to the point where I didn't even know that it was Danny Elfman's project. And I learned that after the fact. And then when I started listening to it, like you can really hear like Danny Elfman, like Disney guy in
You can hear
the
Nightmare Before Christmas every so often.
Yeah.
When he does a silly voice or something.
What I like about it is that it's like for some reason ska.
Yeah. I didn't know that ska. I mean, my only real like. What am I looking? What's the word? Like my only real like facing of ska is like. Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Like,
yeah, but that's like what it kind of sounds like.
It does, especially like the third album.
I would say like there's probably like two or three songs off the first album that like have the horns that are like prominent in ska.
It's not ska yet. It's
it's
almost
exactly. But they really like go into it with like their next couple albums. But then they also kind of move away from it later. So I think we should just go through like the albums and just kind of talk about like how we felt about them, as well.
Yeah, this is a very loose, not planned sort of video. We just after the month of listening. Sorry, our cats are fighting. After the month of listening to Oingo Boingo, we were like, we really need to just like get out of here, go, on camera and just, I don't know, like gush. Just
talk about it. Just kind of like record our process of listening to music, learning more about it.
Yeah, and Karina is like very.
I've been into music for a very long time.
Right.
And I just think it's so interesting. Like music is like such a universal thing, and it's all so similar but so different. Like there's only 12 notes, but
arrange them.
Look at the material. Like, there's literally infinite possibilities that you can do with music. So I don't know. Like there's a lot of like music that reminds me of Oingo Boingo, but it's also one of the most like unique sounds that I've ever heard, and like you really can't replicate that.
Yeah. No, I actually totally agree with you. I think like bar for bar, like pound for pound, Oingo Boingo. I don't know what Danny was doing. Like I don't know what he had going on in the studio, but like
he was cooking.
They made some really cool and interesting music.
Yeah.
And great music to play video games to as well, honestly. That's what I've derived. Riding my bike to work, I listen to a lot of Oingo. And Boingo comes in when I'm playing my music, when I'm playing games, But I was wondering, like, as our little experiment, our little year-long experiment of let's try this. For the first month, it wasn't a huge discography. It wasn't, 14 albums. It wasn't like if we ever did the Beatles, we'd have to have like 4 months to do it.
Yes. However, we only listened to strictly what was on the Oingo Boingo label, not like any of this, because they also have so many songs that they've written for soundtracks. Like not even including Danny Elfman personal stuff, but the band itself like wrote music for I think like Fast Times at Claremont High and like some movies in the 80s. So like they were around for a while. So we didn't even listen to any of those.
It's interesting that Weird Science is on.
Yeah, and Weird Science.
But the rest of them are just like floating and nothing.
They're just kind of like in compilations and like these weird offshoots. Just because music production was so different in the 80s and like early 90s. Like they were transitioning from vinyl to CD, and so like there's like, but they're still releasing LPs and stuff like that. So it's just like a weird space to be in, I guess. But there's also a solo project by Danny Elfman, but it features all the members of Oingo Boingo, so it's kind of like an unofficial Oingo Boingo album, but it's under his name. So I mean, they really played fast and loose with everything, I think.
And I think that's what I appreciate them. So
yeah.
After this first month, how was your experience? Was it like?
I mean, it was great. I enjoyed it. I like to get, lost in an artist. Like, when I listen to an artist, I like to listen to the whole thing. And I think this was a great band to, like, see the evolution, even throughout, like, going from the early 80s albums to the 90s albums. And you can just hear, like, the sound get darker and, like, more grungy as it went on. Versus, like, when they were in the middle 80s, like, with Boingo.
Yes.
The Oingo.
Yeah.
This
album right here, right? The
yes,
the black
Oingo.
album right here. Yeah, we have it on vinyl already.
Yes,
Look at
of course
us.
we do. That album has a lot of, like, it's a little bit more, I don't want to call it generic.
I'm sorry. What is happening? How did you... It's fixed.
I feel like Boingo had a lot more of, like, just generic 80s sounding music. More than, like, any of the other ones that had, like, such a unique sound. Yeah. So it was just interesting. And then after that, they went full swing into rock.
With, especially with...
Dark Side.
What
is it called?
Dark at the End of the Tunnel. Dark at the End of the Tunnel.
Dark at the End of the Tunnel, yes.
Dark Side, is what colloquially will be known as. Beef This is the girl cat Beef. She's gonna be here. Whatever.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about something funny that happened the first, because we were like, let's do Oingo Boingo.
Yeah.
So, like, they're such an interesting band. Like, we found out Danny Elfman's in it. Let's, like, listen to it. But the first song off the first album is quite interesting. And it almost turned me off of them. Like, I literally was like, if this is what it's going to be like, I don't want to be uncomfortable. Yeah. But now looking back on it,
It kind of, what's crazy? It kind of, like, kicked open the door to the rest of it.
So
it really did. The first album, Only a Lad, and I'll probably be putting, like, a little picture of it or something right here.
Only a Lad.
Only a Lad. The first song is titled Little Girls. And I distinctly remember sitting in front of, or sitting on the couch and being like, let's listen to the first song out loud. And it is a very poignant and daggered aim at pedophilia. But if you didn't know that it is playing a big joke on it, it would be very strange to listen to, and it was.
Yes.
It was.
And that's the thing about it, is because we learned after, a little research, that there are a lot of, like, character songs that he writes, like,
which makes
from
sense.
A certain perspective, right? And there's even, like, a few more on the first album itself. Like, Only a Lad is also a character song, but it's about, what is it, like, boys will be boys, right? But, like, how that is, like, a
to the extreme,
like, he's only a lad, so, like, he's going around and, like, killing and stealing and doing all this stuff.
And Little Girls, don't take this out of context. In Little Girls, Danny Elfman is taking an angle of, like, what would it be like to be these disgusting men that like little girls.
Another thing that's, like, still...
But he writes it in, like, a upbeat... It's horrible, but you find yourself singing along to the chorus.
This is what I hate about it, is that song, like, really pisses me off, like, because it's so catchy.
Yeah.
And not only that, on their top songs on Spotify, it's all from Dead Man's Party, which is their most popular album, and it's got, like, very, like, Halloween-y songs, like, it's very fun, very, like, cool. And then in the middle of, like, Dead Man's Party, Dead Man's Party, Dead Man's Party, Little Girls from the first album, Dead Man's Party. What the fuck is that? Like, why is that song in the zeitgeist?
I hear what you're saying, and it probably is in the zeitgeist, but just trail with me, okay? What if it's a bunch of people that did what we did, and they were like, you know what? Screw it. Like, I'm going to listen to Oingo Boingo all the way, and I'm going to start right at the beginning. And then they listened to Little Girls, and they did what we thought about doing, which was turn it off, put my phone away, and, like, never think about... And anytime I hear about Oingo Boingo on the street, be like, that's the weird band.
It's kind of funny because, like, sometimes...
But more than likely, it's the zeitgeist.
Sometimes, like, if I'm listening to them on shuffle, like, it'll come up, and I'll skip it, like, out of spite. Because I'm like, I don't want to give them another play on this song, and I listen to their other songs so much that, like, that's the one that, like, I'm not giving any credit to. Mm-hmm. But... God, it's so catchy. It's stuck in my head right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. To be and I mean, I don't know if it could be, it's so weird to say. I don't know if it could be a better first song, especially for that album, especially for the first album, Only a Lad. I feel like like a trip. Like it is, every song is drastically different. They all have, a similar sound because it's written by the same people. Yeah. But it's like, that first album, we've talked about it before, and I don't want to throw out the F word or anything, but that first album might be my favorite album.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good.
It's excellent.
I remember when I first listened to it, it was a very raw version, because what I had heard of Dead Man's Party and Good for Your Soul, those songs are peak, literally if you have never heard anything from them and you just listen to any song of one of those albums, it's just wow, what a cinematic masterpiece almost, But then when you go to the first album, it's just so real and so it feels like they're a garage band, even though they had been playing together for a while, it felt like it was just I don't know, they were really grounded in real life, Yeah,
it takes a very not only certain type of person but a certain group of people to come together and write Little Girls.
Yeah. That was another thing that was so interesting about Oingo Boingo, is the fact that they every album they changed a lot of the group members a lot of the time. So basically every album is a different group of musicians with Danny Elfman as the front man. But some of them stuck around throughout certain periods, they were just all kind of staggered. So a lot of the albums will have elements that are the same that you can tell were orchestrated by Danny, but then the play styles are different. So although they kind of have all a through line, they really do sound like they could have been done by a different band,
Yeah. I think that is just another notch in his Danny Elfman, his creative tool belt. I don't know. It's very. The first three, what was it you were telling me the other day, that usually the first three albums are the.
Yeah, I was saying that usually the first three albums of any artist are have the most soul of that band, right? Because the first one is, there's a saying that says the first album, that you can take your whole life to make your first album.
Yeah.
But then you have 6 months after that to release every next album, right?
Yeah.
So the first album up to the third, if someone's been writing poetry their whole life, they have a big backlog, right?
Yeah.
And so when you put that in and you have all these ideas that you've been storing up for your life, they're all going to be kind of contained in the first couple things that you make. But then as you get into the creative process, you kind of take on projects that are a little bit more conceptual and a little bit more a thematic, essentially.
Much like Dead Man's Party.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Best example of thematic, right?
Yes.
It really does sound like you stumbled into hell. And,
Yes.
The skeletons.
And the skeletons are playing the xylophones on their ribs.
And there's a lot of Dia de los Muertos kind of
Yes.
imagery in there. And it, it really does sound like you went to a Tex-Mex restaurant in hell.
Yes.
And they had the mariachi band.
Hell yeah.
Which is so...
so
and,
sick.
and going from... Because that's the fourth.
Yes.
And going from Nothing to Fear
Yeah.
into that is
And I think it's interesting because I feel like
really cool.
The first three albums also were all very political in a kind of way, right? They were very what is it? Critical of society and certain aspects of the
and
system.
tongue-in-cheek critical.
And very and silly and going back to that character kind of thing, writing from these different points of views and just taking that idea all the way through, right?
Yeah.
But I think Dead Man's Party kind of stepped out of that and had its own solidified theme, which is the Dias de los Muertos Halloween kind of vibe.
It almost feels like Danny was got behind a mic and was I'm feeling silly, and then they were let's run with it, do it. Yeah.
It's almost like he wanted to make an album for Oogie Boogie specifically.
From Nightmare Before Christmas. It really does feel
it really does.
There are so many, like Karina was saying earlier, there are so many times early on where you hear like Nightmare Before. You're like, I hear
totally.
it.
Yeah.
I hear you don't hear like, you know, dun 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 dun, like you don't hear that, but you hear like little things.
Stylistically,
like,
Danny has like a very specific kind of sound, you know, like, sure. And it's so hard to quantify what an artistic style is, but like it's there. Like if you listen to anything that he's ever done, you can tell it's him. You know,
it feels like the same. And yeah, I think bar for bar, like those first 3 albums, and don't get me wrong, like their entire discography for the 99 percentile is really great. You know it's a good artist when after you have listened to 80 something 90 something songs, I really can only pick out like 2 or 3 that I'm like, oh yeah. Not even like I don't like them. No. Like I don't really care for them.
Yeah, it's really rare to have like an artist, and I will say there was like certain songs and even entire albums that when I first listened to them, like I wasn't the biggest fan of, but it's just because of that stylistic change going from one album to the next that like I had to get used to that new sound, right?
It's like whiplash. I mean, it's crazy.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then when you go back and like re-listen to it and like you really start to get the nuances and the thematic things that they're talking about in that album, it just becomes like this whole different thing. And now like even the albums that I didn't like their last album, I was not the biggest fan of when I first listened through. Neither was I. But now I love it. That's the only album that they have like 8-minute songs. I think there's a 15-minute song on there. Yeah. But when I'm just like idle listening to it, it feels really nice and it's still interesting enough. Like in all the songs have enough variety in them that it just kind of feels like this journey that you're on. I don't know.
Yeah, I also think, especially specifically with their last album, I think he really dove in to his like musicalities. Like it really feels like, especially the first song, Insanity. Yeah. That feels like a prologue going into like an overture.
Yes.
Going into the opening
and
number.
See,
like
I think I agree in that way of, I think why it's really grown on me is because it took kind of what those first 3 albums had and brought that part of the band back of like very critical of the system and going into these very dark themes. And they covered I Am the Walrus, which was like a dark version of that. Yeah. And it's just really cool like to see them even reference things that they were talking about, but like as they've grown, they've gotten darker and they've gotten more complex, and it's the 90s now and things are grunge. It's the 80s. It's the 80s, idiot. What the hell did you Little expect? Fool. Don't forget the golden rule.
But that if you listen to me right now, look me in the eyes. If you listen to Oingo Boingo, the vocal
it's crazy. That is another thing I want to talk about. His vocal ability. He was like, it's like Kesha with her like yodeling, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like he does that kind of like yodeling and like voice like modulation.
Yeah, he is,
and he puts on voices.
And it's a completely different. It's like he is doing like voice acting, singing, dramaturgy. Like it's like he's doing all these interesting things and then making like stupid, silly songs out of it. That's, if you were to hear that on the radio and not like listening to what he's saying, it would pass by as another 80s song. And then when you listen to what he's saying, you're like, he's talking about the systemic punk. Like it's like just insane. Like he really is tackling these huge issues, these big ticket items from like a silly
and it's also
perspective.
Like,
I don't know.
I love rock bands and alternative bands because they've like all throughout the journey of like even when rock music started with like punk, right? That whole thing was like being anti-institution, right? And one of the last album, one of my favorite songs off there it's called I think War Dogs or something like that. I think it's called, yeah. And that song like has like stuck with me even since the first time I listened to it because it's like so poignant and still so relevant. Yeah. Even whatever like 30 something years later. And it just, I don't know. It's just so cool that like we can still relate to music that was made like at this point a fair time ago, before my time, I'll say it.
Yeah, I mean, we were just singing. What you see is what you get from the second album.
I think that's off the third one. Don't forget the
It
golden
actually might be
rule.
off the first one. No, it is off the first one because the cover is my original favorite song from the first album. But the other day I told you that What You See is off.
Oh yeah, What You See is off the first album. Yes, yes.
That might be the best song.
It's the one that I always look forward to. It's always in my head, and it never gets old. That's the
never
thing.
gets old. And
It's
this
so
whole thing was to say
yes.
that what you were talking about their '90s album, how it's still applicable today.
Yeah.
Like, in that song, the chorus is literally "What you see is what you get." It's the '80s idiot. Like he's talking about the '80s, and yet 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell anybody, but the '80s was 40 years ago. 40 years in the future, I am looking at our public sphere right now and what's going on in the world, specifically here, and I am like, what the hell did you? It's the 2020s, idiot. What the hell did you expect? And it still like resonates. It's so cool. Don't forget the golden rule.
Ooh.
Men with rubber hoses is more like it.
Is more like it.
All I'm saying.
What you
What we're trying to say is not always what you get. Is what we're trying to say is, if you are watching this and you're on the proverbial fence, dive in.
Yes.
Oingo Boingo is a treasure.
Yes.
And he hasn't gotten canceled yet. Let's go, ladies. And it is so much fun to listen to as someone who plays video games.
Someone who sews and does just a lot of like mindless stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it that stuff.
Thank you. Seriously.
But you really couldn't find a better artist. It's so great at like that kind of headspace. But saying that at the same time, digging into these songs and really listening to them is like so rewarding. It's like, dang, he really was he really was cooking. Like he was doing.
He is an artist, like through and through, like artist. And we always talk about how like there's a difference between artist and vocalist. I think he's
both.
Like his vocal ability in just the range and variety that he
that
does,
he can
like,
bring and sound good while doing it, right?
I would say that he's like almost like a musical theater vocalist in a certain type of way.
Yeah,
like,
but not
just
like
because of the
not like the 2000s tenors.
Yes.
Like
the villain.
Yeah, no, I mean he is.
Also,
one of my
I don't know if you've ever seen the picture of him at Coachella.
He's also
when
he was yoked.
He performed like a couple of years ago, like this was recently, and
here's a picture.
He's old.
Dong. Oh, okay. Dong. Right there. You're gonna hold it. Okay, I'm gonna say dong. Here's me. Well, I'll put up a picture.
Yeah, he's absolutely yoked, and
he's old, and he's jacked, and his tattoos
like
are so clean,
and he was up there like shredding a guitar.
Like, he's just cool.
He's just cool. I'm sorry. We like Danny Elfman.
Yeah, we're in this house, and if you're here, you're gonna like him too. And Oingo Boingo is great stand in part 3 of JoJo's.
Of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! He's right there.
There he is.
That may or may not have been a reason that we also chose.
It was a reason that we chose. It was.
There was a lot of reasons.
Yeah. Okay, it's time to. Okay, Trina, let's stop mucking about. Let's get down to the nitty gritty.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite album?
I think I'm gonna look at the list really fast and just kind of, because we've already talked about this so many times. We've debated this long and hard. What is the best Oingo Boingo album?
Yeah.
I don't think my answer has changed for most of the time. I think Good for Your Soul.
The third album.
The third album is my favorite.
Right here, the third album.
Ding!
This is Karina's favorite.
However, I also really like Dark at the End of the Tunnel.
Wow, this one right
the
here.
90s album.
This one right here.
I really do. I think, but then it's like, then there's the first album, then there's Dead Man's Party.
Oh, no.
There's the second album.
This is not a question.
The last album.
This is not an easy question. This is what brass tacks. This is the hard
hitter. If I had
hitter.
to choose Good for Your Soul.
Pound for pound.
Yes.
And look at the audience. Would you tell them, is that the album you would recommend for first-time Oingo Boingo listeners?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
I think everybody should start with Dead Man's Party.
Why?
Because it's the most accessible, it's the most fun, and I think that it's I don't know if I'm qualified as that, but I hear what you're saying. I would say it's the most approachable.
I think it's the most approachable.
And I think it's like a very good like summary of the band. And then if you like that, I would say start with that. If you like it, go back and just listen
one through
back to front.
I think so too. Oh, front to back. Or back to front?
Back to front, front to back, either
fucking
way,
upside
turn it
down,
over,
spin
slap it.
him on his ass. Yeah, I understand.
Do whatever you want with it.
This is for you, Danny. Also, Danny, if you're watching, we're your biggest fan.
Unless he's a terrible person.
He's not. I haven't heard anything bad about him. And you know
Every
what?
Every person is terrible in
this
some
is
ways.
a Caleb approved. True. This is a Caleb approved prediction. I don't think he's gonna do anything bad. I think he's gonna stay uncanceled, ladies and gentlemen.
He is.
He's getting old though. He's gonna say some stupid.
Let's cut that
okay,
out.
never mind.
What if he watches this? Because I don't want to. Danny, you are gonna live forever.
Perfect.
No one lives forever.
Quit complaining, brother. So, okay. So good for. I honestly.
Good for your soul.
I cannot fault Good for Your Soul. I think.
Yeah.
You know, there is also the common belief that the second album tends to be that.
The sophomore albums.
That album.
Are
like that.
usually,
That bitch.
but that's Nothing to Fear.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, so this is their third album.
Which is very convenient because my favorite album is Nothing to Fear.
Nothing to Fear.
Nothing to Fear right here. And you want to know why? Just stick with me, okay? Don't make fun of me.
It's their silliest album.
So yes, long way, short way.
Yes.
But I think Good for Your Soul, pound for pound, honestly, is probably their best album. I think Dead Man's Party is great, and like Karina said, I'll reiterate, I think if you're going to show someone this band, or if you're trying to get into this band, if you stumbled on this video and are trying to get into this band, I think Dead Man's Party is the perfect intro. It's fun, it's silly, it's a little dark and spooky every so often, but like, in that album, the songs tend to blend into each other, in my opinion, on purpose, because that's how a party works. If you've never gone to a party, they usually last a long time, and things change, rearrange.
Yes.
So do I, J. Cole. But I think pound for pound, like that's your go-to. Like I'm getting into it, I'm listening. Mm-hmm. Good for Your Soul, I think, is perfect. I think it might be literally like the perfect album. But Nothing to Fear won me over with a little song called Reptiles and Samurai.
See, that album won me over with a little song called Insects. And those are both very fun and weird songs. So, okay, I actually wanted to do a thing. I don't know if you would be okay with this, but I want to go over
singing
all
of Insects.
Singing all of Insects and doing a little dance.
They might say,
They make me want to dance.
Dance. They make me want to. That's how, by the way, that's how he sings. Okay? If you've ever seen Rocky Horror Picture Show, Tim Curry.
Yes.
They must have taken like singing lessons.
So that's actually kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to go over all the albums and say like what kind of artists are similar to that.
I don't know if I'll have like a lot of input, but I'll go. Mm-hmm,
yeah, and if you have any in mind,
any input,
at all.
I'll
input it.
Sure, I'll chirp it.
Put it in.
I'll chirp it.
So for the first album, I would say it's like very early Green Day.
Mm-hmm. No, I actually do think it sounds a lot like Green Day.
And just kind of like general ska bands, but just like early versions of it.
See, I think you know what? I actually do have input. I think it actually sounds a lot like early Real Big Fish. I don't know if that's a big ska band.
I have never heard of that.
I want your girlfriend to be... She scratched me. Or, I mean, like Goldfinger, like that kind of vibe.
Sure.
So
I agree. Anything that kind of has like that, garage band plus horns sounds is like gonna sound like
garage band, but At the orchestra? Like, yeah.
Oh,
what the heck? I thought it was a garage.
And then I would say that, like, the next couple albums have, like, Dead Kennedys vibes. They have Lemon Demon, surprisingly, and they have, oh my gosh, is Lemon Demon the one that did Ultimate Showdown and Ultimate Destiny? So, and they have, like, a lot of, like, just, like, silly ass songs that, like, are character songs as well. I would also say that Will Wood and the Tapeworms. So,
okay. Will Wood, if you're watching this, William Woodham.
Big fan.
Big fan. And you listened to Oingo Boingo. Like,
you listened.
You had to have, right? Yeah. There's no way that you...
Yeah, because that, like, I don't know, especially Dead Man's Party.
Yo, I mean, it's like crazy how much...
Yeah.
No, don't show everybody your butthole.
Come on, not for free.
Sorry, dude. Lay down. But, yeah. William Woodham and the Tapewormies, like that. And
then I would say as, like, in the 90s albums, because I would say that there's, like, a hard separation between the album starting 1990, the Dark End of the Tunnel, and then their last album, like, Boingo. Kind of are grouped together. For
Boingo, not...
yeah, we've got Boingo, but Oingo.
Yes.
So just don't get it confused.
The 90s album is just Boingo, but the late 80s album is Oingo. With a hyphen in the middle. Boingo.
Yes.
But
so they're different.
Oingo. Good luck, by the way. Good luck, Charlie. Good luck, Charlie. Good luck, Danny.
So the last two I would group together. And I would say that this album, the 90s one, is, like, sounds very similar to, like, Alice in Chains, some Nirvana a little bit. Like, it's a very grungy album. And then I would say the last album actually sounds a lot like Tool, I know I was just talking about, but they also have, like, 8-minute songs about the depths of the psyche and society and, like, all that kind of stuff. So, and I think that there is kind of a similar sound there as well, which is so interesting because it's, like, what a wide range of sounds to have.
That one, well, not one man, but one artistic pursuit created, right?
Exactly.
Like
one band, it's crazy.
One band, many members. Oingo Boingo.
They should copyright that. They should get back together. They should get back together, make another album, and call it Oingo.
Oingo.
Oingo. And then 10 years later.
Boingo.
Oh,
right.
Well,
like the Boingo, yeah.
Actually, we're coming up with that responsibility.
Let's just do it.
Yeah, we should be talking to them, to their managers. Danny.
Elfman. I mean, yeah, I don't know. For this little experiment, I don't know if we could have started with a better band. Every album was not only an easy listen, especially those first three, nice 9 to 10 song. Each song's around 3.5 to 4 minutes, perfect. Not only was it an easy listen, it was a fun listen.
And I would say that, like, the re-listenability never goes away because there's always something that you're gonna like see that's new.
Yeah.
Every time I listen to a song, like, I hear a lyric differently, or there's, like, a new instrument that I've never realized was there, you know?
What do you have that one in?
Oh, I was gonna say, that was another thing that I learned about them, was apparently that they would make their own instruments out of, like, objects, and then they would use those things to, like, play a sound that's so unique that would probably never be heard again because it was an instrument used for that one purpose.
What the heck?
So, I mean, they were just, like, pushing the boundaries the whole time. And I love that.
Yeah, Danny was cooking for sure.
Yeah. Yes.
I think, yeah. I'm so happy that we chose Oingo Boingo.
I am too.
And easy listens, fun listens, and, like, they have songs for, like, I know it sounds so stupid, they have songs for, like, every part of your day. Like,
they really do.
They have, like, wake up, make
every
coffee
mood.
song.
Yes.
Yeah, they have, like, I'm telling you, when I'm riding my bike, I hate to say it, I Love Little Girls is playing in my headphones when I'm riding my bike. And I'm not, like, it's just so catchy, and it feels like I'm, like, riding through the city.
It is so catchy.
It's
whatever.
so funny, too.
I think there are songs that sound enough like it that I don't have to listen to it.
Yeah.
I'm just morally opposed. That's all.
No, I mean, like...
Look, it does what it does, but it's not for me.
It does.
But it does.
It does. Yeah. I think, do you have, I mean, we asked about your favorite album, and we know it's good for your soul. Do you have, like, give me 3 of your favorite songs? Not in order,
is so
just...
hard. I don't know, where did I put my phone? I need to look at, beep.
Is she sitting on it? Oh, it's warm.
She was sitting right on it. Oh my god, that is a very difficult question.
Can you see on Spotify what you're most listened to?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Actually, there is an app that you can... Sorry, we'll cut this out.
Yeah, we'll cut this out. This is pretty boring.
But you can go to stats for Spotify and it'll give you like your...
You gotta fucking connect it all.
Yes, you do.
Jesus Christ. Agree.
Whatever. So top tracks, last 4 weeks. Oh, No One Lives Forever is my top listened to song from Oingo Boingo.
Okay, and...
Second, Whole Day Off. Third,
I love this song.
Oh, you know what might be my
Let's
favorite
take the
song?
Whole day off. What?
Nothing Bad Ever Happens to Me. I listen to that one a lot.
Shot him in the face with a loaded gun.
No one lives forever.
That.
Brother.
Quit complaining, brother.
So, oh wait, I want to see this. You need to pull this up. Oh, your phone is being used for that. Never mind.
Yeah, I could. Oh well.
This is so funny that
we can go in after. I'll go in after and say.
I've done this like stats for Spotify thing so many times, but it's never been one artist. Like it's always been different tracks, but this is literally all the way down to until number 13. Apparently, I listen to Xerxes by Deftones.
Okay.
A lot.
Well, I'll tell them. Early on, or maybe not early on, but midway through the month, we did do a check-in, and we were like, not only how are you liking it, do you have a favorite? And you did tell me at one point that Sweat
Yes.
was your favorite song. That's Off Good For Your Soul.
That is Off Good For Your Soul. Most of my favorites are Off Good For Your Soul, just because, again, it's my favorite.
You know what I have to say about that?
But there's a few songs off all the other albums that I'm just like obsessed with.
You know what I have to say about Sweat? It ain't nice.
That ain't nice.
Sweat. Yeah,
that song is like soothes my ADHD. I don't know what it is about. It's so fast tempo, and there's so many like things that happen in that song like differently that like the music just completely changes at some point.
Yeah, the cool girls all got knocked up. Where did they go?
That ain't nice. Yeah, so No One Lives Forever is my number 1. Whole Day Off. Nothing Bad Ever Happens to Me. Dead or Alive. What You See is also...
that was what we were talking about earlier, the first album. What
were you going to say?
Dead or Alive is a great song.
I like that song. I didn't like that song at first, but I really like it.
Is it dead or alive? She is snoring now. She's doing her own thing. When we were testing the camera, before we were testing the microphone, nowhere near us, we start filming.
You gotta be where the action is.
Right in the
I don't even think she's in the shot, actually. I think it's
there is a cat here, I swear. We're like petting nothing. We pan the thing down and we're like, there's never been a cat there.
We've never owned a cat.
Okay, I mean, do you have any like... I mean, we could sit here... I could sit here for 2 hours and talk about this, but I don't think we should.
Let's do a quick recap. So, say, what is your favorite album, your favorite song, and what you enjoyed most out of this experience?
Okay. My favorite Oingo Boingo album is Nothing to Fear is my favorite album. It's green. It's right here. It's beautiful. I think pound for pound, it is the most Oingo of Boingos, and it is the silliest, most serious album I've ever had the privilege to listen to. It was very great. And my favorite Oingo Boingo song is not off of Nothing to Fear.
Okay.
Even though it's my favorite album, pound for pound,
yeah.
I think Danny Elfman, that crooked bastard in the first album, might have snuck out the best song in his repertoire, which is What You See.
That is an excellent song. That is definitely
right
a
here.
contender.
Boing! What you see right here. It's look. I'm gonna like spin it. I can't edit that. I can just do this. I think what you see from the first album is.
It's probably one of my favorite songs.
I think it's perfect. Like,
yeah.
It reminds me. Never mind. I can't spoil it.
What?
I can't. Nothing.
That is so vague and threatening, and
It reminds me of a certain artist's one of their most famous songs, entitled "Bad."
Oh.
And it reminds me a lot of that.
I see.
But we can't
quite say
the name yet.
It's so hard to choose a favorite song, because I think.
Oh, and wait, don't I need to say what?
What did you get from
my
this
experience? I have never listened to music the way that I did this last month, and I was inspired by how you listen to music. I find it very impressive. And you know, I was really nervous. I get burnt out very easily, ADHD things. But I'm old enough and mature enough in my life that I'm very realistic with myself, and I'm like,
yeah.
Caleb, you're not going to listen to 10 albums worth of music, but I did the damn thing.
Yeah.
And it felt so good, even through the albums I didn't really like, even through, you know, the last album and parts of Dark at the End of the Tunnel, even through those things where I really wasn't vibing with it. I'm very glad I did it, and I can finally say that you were indeed correct. Before we listened to Oingo Boingo, Karina told me they're gonna be your favorite band. And I don't know if they're my favorite band, but they're in my Mount Rushmore band. They are in the conversation for sure.
Yes.
And I'm very glad we did this first month. So yeah, that's what I take away from. That's what
that
I
was beautiful.
Thank you.
That was very beautiful.
Thank you. You're very beautiful.
So you. Are we gonna kiss?
No, not on camera. Jeez, beep didn't.
Oh hell no! I'm not here.
Close.
So yeah, my favorite album, Good for Your Soul. Favorite song, I think I have to say, Whole Day Off, which is also not off of Good for Your Soul. It's off of your favorite album. But that song is just, I don't know what it is about it. It's like it's an earworm.
You know what it is?
So catchy.
It's a
vibe, bro. It's so good.
It really is.
It really is. And then Nothing Bad Ever Happens to Me is also, I just think that song is hilarious. Like, I think it's just like so poignant and like I fucking get it.
Like farcical.
Yes.
Like it's actually does remind me of Little Girls a little bit, only because it's so like on the nose and you're like, you can't write a song about this. Like, you can't write a song about a guy going into somebody's house and shooting them in the head with a loaded gun.
You know what it is? It was the what is that fucking song? It is the Ain't No Rest for the Wicked by Cage the Elephant of the 80s.
Of the 80s, right.
Like, it's the same, it's like 3 separate things that happen.
It's a storytelling song, yeah.
A guy who doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
It's so great.
And Cage the Elephant
it's
had like an electric banjo, and Oingo Boingo had like an electric floop-a-loof or whatever they wanted to call it.
Imaginary. Hey.
Let's get away from the microphone. This.
Bad. Evil.
Get out of here. She's not evil. She's just bad. Okay.
Yeah, so, I think Whole Day Off. But don't quote me on that. And then what I loved about this experience was, this is the way I listen to music. I get very hyper-fixated on an artist, and I love listening to new music. And it was actually, like, the way that I was inspired to listen to music was also by one of my friends, like, because I really liked a certain song, and they were like, why don't you just go into their discography and listen to the rest of it if you like it?
And you were like, oh, I forgot that
song. It literally blew my mind. I was like, I didn't even think about that or how that would be possible. And then that's how I've been listening to it ever since, because it's like, well, yeah, if you like that song, you might like the rest of their stuff. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you find a new favorite artist, you know? So this was definitely a cool experience. I'm really glad we listened to this band, and I've actually connected with a lot of Gen Xers about this. I've literally, like, if you bring up Oingo Boingo around someone around that age, like, they will tell you stories about the 80s that you will never forget. So, I don't know, something about Oingo Boingo just brings people together, I think. And that's a beautiful thing.
That is a beautiful thing.
So, I don't know, that's what I got from it. Music brings people together.
I think that's a great sentiment. I think after listening, we have finally learned that every Oingo needs their Boingo. Cute. Well, I mean, I think those are pretty good, like, closing remarks for our first month of this experiment. Our goal is for the next, year to create, I guess it would be 12 different videos, and maybe, videos here and there for just wanting to talk about it, but creating some TikTok content with it too. And if you guys enjoy this and would like to, come along for the ride with us, please do it, I think really, like, you can like and subscribe if that's what you want to do. You can do whatever you want, but
boo,
well,
boo.
But what you really need to do is listen to Oingo Boingo.
Yes.
All the way through. Start with Dead Man's Party if you're feeling a little scared. I think you should just go balls deep and just start at the very beginning.
First, yeah.
Jump in the deep end cold.
That's fair.
It only hurts at the beginning.
I respect that.
And it doesn't. It's great. And I think before we end this, February is my birth month, so
True.
I am getting to choose. I'm getting to choose the artist. March is Karina's, so she will choose next month's artist, and I have decided this is the 1st of February. I'm making an official statement. The artist of February will be the King of Pop, Michael Jackson. Some would say my favorite artist. Let's see how we feel at the end of the month about our second listener. And we are starting all the way from he was a wee babby.
Yeah, he was a wee babby. What was it? 1972 was his first album, and he was like a child.
A child. And I know there's a lot of dark stuff. I know. Okay? I don't want to get into an argument about it.
Yes.
I feel very strongly. So we're going to listen to Michael.
However, you cannot deny his effect on music.
Dude can write and sing and dance.
We'll definitely be getting into probably a little bit more history about Michael Jackson and maybe our own opinions of the matter. And
you don't want to hear my opinion. I am problematic.
So yeah, that's something to look forward to. Yeah. I'm excited because I've always been adjacent to Michael Jackson. I remember where I was when he died.
So do I.
And when I was a wee babby.
A wee one.
And so it's very interesting. I very vividly remember that moment.
Me too.
I'm very excited. I've always listened to his most popular stuff, but I can't say that I've ever really gone deep and listened to all his albums. So.
And we are going to.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. I'm looking forward to it, and not just because it's my birthday. But thank you so much for joining us on this first little episode of we might do something cute.
Yeah.
Just listening to us yap for however long it's been.
Yeah.
My name's Caleb.
Mine's Karina.
And listen to.
And we are Caleb and Karina.
And listen to Oingo Boingo. Thank you.